No airplane flown by a cat has ever crashed. Therefore, cats make the safest pilots. But this raises a deeper question. Is something considered safe just because it has not gone wrong yet? What if the cat is driving a car or slumbering in a sofa? Is that also safe? Is this really how statistics work? And what happens when the humans are at the helm or in the sofa? Does that change the odds? Commercial airliners are incredibly safe, but like anything in life, there is always some risk involved. If your car breaks down, you can usually pull over and wait for help. Not so when you are 35,000 feet in the air. Hello aviators, how are you doing today? My name is Magnar Nordahl. I'm a retired airline captain and instructor. Everything we do in life carries some level of risk. Some consequences are harmless, while others can be much more serious. In this video, I want to talk about risk and statistics, without the cats. Numbers can be helpful for understanding the world, but if we interpret them the wrong way, we can easily draw the wrong conclusions. For instance, one study found that 74% of car drivers involved in accidents were regular coffee drinkers. It might be tempting to say, aha, coffee causes accidents. But we know that's not the full picture. Likewise, after an airline accident, many people ask, is flying really safe? My answer is yes, flying is safe, as long as you remember that it can be dangerous. For any activity we can and should perform a risk assessment. What are the potential hazards and what steps can we take to reduce those risks to an acceptable level? In aviation, we often use a risk matrix that evaluates both the likelihood and severity of an event. The risk level ranges from low in green and high in red, helping us prioritize safety measures. Safety expert Robert Allen suggests an even more practical approach by asking three key questions. 1. Can the hazard cause serious injury? This keeps our focus on potential consequences. 2. Are there effective controls in place to manage the risk? 3. Is the risk tolerable? Importantly, risk tolerance should be a conscious decision, not a guess, and it must be made by someone both informed and accountable. That's the theory. Now let's apply it to something surprisingly risky. Sitting on your own sofa. Is sitting on a sofa dangerous? Well, yes and no. If you maintain a healthy lifestyle, you probably won't spend excessive time sitting around, so the risk remains low. But if you are physically inactive, eating unhealthy food and too much of it, and spend a lot of time sitting, you could be increasing your risk of serious health problems. In 2016, the World Health Organization reported 56.7 million deaths globally. I used 2016 because I found this beautiful graph. The leading cause, cardiovascular disease, which accounted to over 17.65 million deaths, or about 31% of all deaths that year. To put it in perspective, that's roughly 1 in 420 people, based on a world population of 7.43 billion at the time. The good news is this risk can be significantly reduced. Eating whole food, staying active, and not spending too much time glued to the couch all help. Ultimately, the choice is yours. If you are curious to learn more, I made a separate video on this topic. The link is below. Now let's see how this risk compares to something more familiar, traveling on the road. Roughly 80% of drivers believe they are above average. If that doesn't raise a red flag, what will? In 2016, road accidents claimed 1.34 million lives worldwide, about 2.4% of all reported deaths. That's 3,670 people every single day. For comparison, you are 13 times more likely to die from a heart attack than in a traffic accident. Suddenly, riding a motorbike in Bangkok doesn't sound so dangerous. Gotta love statistics. According to AI, there are around 4 billion trips with car, bus, motorbike or bicycle every day. That is 1.5 trillion trips per year, give or take. The number can be less and it can be more. But let's use 1.5 trillion. Now compare that with 1.34 million road deaths. The odds of dying in a single road movement? Roughly 1 in 1 million. We should use this number with a pinch of salt, but it gives a rough idea about the risk. But one fact remains clear. 3,670 people died on the roads every day in 2016, and yet it barely registers in the news. It's not shocking anymore. It's part of the background noise of daily life. But when a plane crashes and kills 250 people, it dominates global headlines. Why? Because it's rare, it's dramatic, it disrupts the routine. Commercial airliners are incredibly safe, but like anything else in life, there is always some risk involved. If your car breaks down, you can usually pull over and wait for help. Not so when you are 35,000 feet in the air. That's why aircraft are designed with redundancy, double or even triple systems for critical functions. If one system fails, there is a backup. And for the most essential systems, there is a backup for the backup. Safety doesn't stop there. Aircraft go through rigorous scheduled maintenance. Critical components are replaced before they wear out. And after a certain number of flights or flight hours, the entire aircraft is essentially stripped down and rebuilt. If you are curious about what that process looks like, check out the video I made on seaplane maintenance. You find the link below. Now let's talk about the pilots. They are not only highly trained, but they are regularly retrained, tested and evaluated, often in high-tech simulators. In my current job, I help pilots stay sharp and up to date with their procedures. Even with all this in place, accidents can still happen. Over the past 10 years, the average number of deaths from airline accidents have been about 542 per year. But let's put that in a context. Each day there are about 120,000 scheduled commercial flights, carrying roughly 12 million people. That's about 4.4 billion passengers every year. So the odds of dying in an airline accident are about 1 in 8 million. Compare that to the risk of dying from a heart attack or a road accident, and it's clear. Flying is one of the safest things you can do, only surpassed by taking an escalator. So why are some people still afraid of flying? In my opinion, it often comes down to one thing: lack of understanding. Despite all the reassuring statistics about how safe it is to be strapped inside a metal tube full of fuel and under control of a 26-year-old pilot you cannot see, flying still makes some people nervous, and I get it. For much of my life, I had a fear of being underwater. I grew up in the forests and mountains. The sea was unfamiliar and scary. That fear started when I nearly drowned in a swimming pool as a child while learning to swim. Fast forward to 2012, I was offered a job as an instructor for a new airline in the Maldives. The company owned 5 resorts, had built its own airport, and operated ATR 42 and 72. They installed me on one of their resorts, basically paradise. But after 2 weeks, even paradise gets a bit dull. The sea looked stunning, but that childhood experience had left a lasting scar. A Danish colleague of mine started scuba diving and kept telling me how amazing it was. Colorful reefs, schools of vibrant fish. Eventually, curiosity won. I went to the dive center, borrowed a mask, snorkel fins, and a life vest, just in case. And whoa, he was right. The reefs were breathtaking. Bravely, I ditched the vest and discovered something surprising. I didn't sink. Every time I returned the snorkel gear, the staff asked when I'd try scuba diving. I always smile and say, never. I was convinced I'd panic and sink to the bottom, ending a promising career as a pilot. Then came a boat trip to see whale sharks, gentle giants over 10 meters long. The crew shouted to jump, and suddenly I was in the water with 50 others, all trying to be in the same place. I was kicked in my face. But below I saw some scuba divers. They had space and much better view. That trip changed everything. I signed up for diving lessons. My instructor was brilliant. Within days, he helped me transform fear into understanding. Soon I was exploring reefs with joy instead of fear. A friend of me had a fear of flying, not just nervousness, but panic at the mere thought of stepping onto a plane. One day, his wife booked a charter flight from Norway to Turkey, and he freaked out. At the time, I was a flight instructor, so I invited him to the flight school. Day 1, he touched the aircraft. Day 2, he sat inside while it was parked in a hangar. Day 3, we flew. Shortly after takeoff, I let him take the controls. As he felt the plane respond to his input, a smile spread across his face. That vacation in Turkey, total success. So here is my advice. If you feel uneasy about flying, take a deep breath and count to 10. Remember, flying is incredibly safe. Don't let your feelings take over. If you live near an airport with a flight school, consider booking an introduction flight. It can truly open your eyes to a whole new world. Just like I overcame a fear of the ocean, I came to love the coral reefs in the Maldives. That's all for this time. As always, a big thank you to the channel members who support this content and enjoy it ad-free before anyone else. Thank you for watching, have a wonderful day, and happy landing.
Fifty, 40, 30, 20, 10,